of Thrones season premiere is over, but we are just getting started on the Snow It Alls, a recap of Game of Thrones season 8, episode 1. And now here are the two guys who are about to ride in on a dragon. Woo. I am Rob Cesternino here with Stephen Fishbach. Stephen, how are you?
Rob, it feels like just 15 years ago we were talking about the end of episode 7, and you called it the title of season 8, episode 1 is the Ocho, as you predicted.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Very mysterious. Josh and I were talking about this in our season preview that it was going to be. We don't know what the episode title is, and I don't know unless I haven't checked Twitter in the last 10 seconds if we know what the name of the episode is. But I'm sure we will find out in the next couple of hours or so as the Game of Thrones information is coming in fast and furious. We are here with your instant reaction. Okay, so don't tweet us like 3 days from now.
And we know nothing. We know nothing.
We know nothing right now. This is our instant reaction here, and we're live on post-show recaps for the podcast version of this, and we are streaming live tonight on FanCred. And Steven, the great thing about being live on FanCred is that we are going to hear from people who are going to call in later on in the show. If you want to click on the fan line in the upper right-hand corner, we're going to take live calls. Never been done before here by us talking Game of Thrones.
Very excited.
We'll do that later on after we recap everything going on. Of course, Josh Wigler and I will get back together for the Game of Thrones feedback show. Going to record that on Monday night this week. So hurry up, get your feedback questions in for Josh, a man who does not know nothing about Game of Thrones. GOT@postshowrecaps.com. Or you can send them in to us on Twitter as well. Josh is at Round Howard. Be sure to follow everything that he is putting up for THR, the Hollywood Reporter. I'm sure he probably has about 8 articles about to go live
already.
In the next 10 seconds. But Steven, so here we are. We've watched one episode, only 5 episodes left of Game of Thrones. How are you feeling on opening night?
I was moved to tears by some of this.
Oh,
even when it was opening, I just remembered watching, whenever it was 30 years ago, being in my living room with my friends, we made lemon cakes. We had mead, we were so hyped for this. Yeah. We were so hyped for this season of this, for this show to start. And now it's I can't believe it's all coming to an end, sitting here, what is it, 8 years, 9 years later? I mean, it's many more. I don't even remember. 9 years later. And it's just, and then there were so many moments that we've been waiting for so many reveals, so many people reunited, conversations we've been waiting to have. I just had chills throughout the whole episode.
Because it's winter. You were in Winterfell. Most of the episode was in Winterfell.
I had to put on my sweater. I was cold just watching that dragon fly through those snowy air.
Yeah.
It must have been really cold with your hands on the dragon. How fast are they going? They're going 40 miles an hour.
Yeah, I think Daenerys would have felt bad if Jon Snow would have slipped off on one of the dragons.
Your hand in gloves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it would also have been very shady when she came back. All right, I have terrible news. We lost Jon Snow. What? No, it was an accident. He was riding a dragon.
Yeah, could happen to anybody. They say that most dragon accidents happen within 10 meters of the castle.
Yes, but he's a Targaryen, so that he knows what he's doing as he is Aegon Targaryen, and Jon Snow finds out. I'd say probably the biggest moment from this episode. But overall, Stephen, I feel like that a little bit of a quiet premiere. No major character died, with all due respect to the Umber Boy.
Oh, but, how rude.
No movement in anybody's Game of Thrones death pool tonight.
Yeah. Probably Tiny John Umber. Do we have a name for young Umber? Like minuscule John Umber?
Umber Boy.
Yeah. Probably no one really had him picked. There's nothing that Game of Thrones likes more than having characters move, slowly from place to place. So this is really of a part with the whole season.
And not even a complaint. We still have 5 episodes left in this season. It was nice. This was just sort of like the, all right, get to know everybody, table setting episode. Okay. Game of Thrones. You get this one tonight, okay? Yeah. If we come back and we're setting the table again next week, we riot.
Yeah. Well, it looks like there's some big battle is happening next week. I honestly, I really loved it. I think I took as much pleasure from some of these conversations, from seeing, Jon hug Arya, from that incredible moment at the very end where Jaime and Bran, look at each other across the courtyard, which you predicted this was going to be a big moment. I guess this was inevitable.
I'm the three-eyed raven.
Yeah.
I don't get up from this podcast chair.
Yeah. I was really very pleased with this, and you get like the trio of counselors with Tyrion, Davos, and Varys, and yeah, I was into it.
Yeah, it was a night that had echoes of the pilot, or the season pilot, not passenger, of the series, the first episode, where we saw Robert and his whole cavalcade end up coming into Winterfell in that very first episode of Game of Thrones. And we sort of had that where now it's Jon and Daenerys and the Unsullied and the Dothraki and everybody coming to Winterfell again here now 7 seasons later.
I really liked that moment where everyone's walking and you're getting the reactions of the citizenry, and then you have like Grey Worm and Missandei walk in, and I think the Winterfellians are racist. Like, they were not having these darker skinned people.
Well, I just don't know if they've ever seen anybody of color at Winterfell. I think that it is it's very much I was in my head I was thinking have they ever seen anybody different than the people from the north? I mean, nobody wants to go there. It's a godforsaken place.
Yeah, I'm thinking like a Bravosi, some wandering Bravosi must have come passed through at some point. But maybe someone from the south on the way to the north, but definitely not anyone like that.
Syrio Forel was there.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Syrio Forel specifically. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
So
no, but they don't like outsiders. Very xenophobic, the Winterfellians.
Yeah, it must have been very strange to see all those people tromping through. And I really liked that first moment where you have Arya looking at all of these people who have, been such big parts of her life. Jon Snow walks by, the Hound walks by, Gendry walks by, and none of them see her, but she is seeing them, and kind of we're projecting into her and having those feelings.
Yeah, I felt like that the parade probably could have used some sort of announcers or a Ryan Seacrest on the red carpet to talk about oh my God, the Hound is here, everybody! Yeah. The Hound, of course. We know Gregor Clegane is here, and so everybody was very excited about all that. So. But really, a lot of political drama where it's almost like Winterfell is the new King's Landing, where a lot of political talk and maneuvering and huddling going on in Winterfell all throughout this episode.
Oh, yeah. Everyone was breaking off into groups, and a lot of great side eye from Sansa. It was a lot of politics.
Yeah. Okay. So, Stephen, how do you want to approach this? Where should we start our discussion? You want to start with our top story at this hour?
What's the top story?
I think that we have to talk about that. Okay, well, we have Jon finding out that he is Aegon Targaryen.
Yeah, that's the top story.
He is not Jon Snow, and that Ned Stark is not his father. And so what does he do with this information, and how does it change things? And I thought that it was very interesting that the show ultimately had Sam be the bearer of this news for Jon, coming right on the heels of Sam finding out from Daenerys that she had actually killed his father, Randall Tarly, and brother Dickon Tarly.
Yeah, that was a really cool, powerful scene. And I love that scene with Sam and Daenerys where he's just holding it together, but still has so much emotion. I mean, obviously his father, he hated, his father hated him. But then to learn that his father died, it was still such an emotional experience. And then, to learn that his brother died, who obviously he had a much better relationship with. And then he has to go and tell Jon about his news. And there's so much emotion there with this question of, would you have done the same thing? Maybe, and it immediately becomes not just Sam saying, hey, here's this information, you're the king, do with that what you will. But Sam is now, fraught with this sense.
He's in his ear.
Yeah, but like you should be the king. Like you wouldn't have necessarily killed those people, just for not bending the knee. You might have let them live. And so for there's a real moral thrust to Sam's news at this point.
Yeah, in the rewatch that Josh and I did leading up to this, when they go through this reveal in the episode that we saw last time out, it was, to me, I thought that there was, the line of not just Jon is Aegon Targaryen, but he is the rightful heir to the throne. And the thing that I think that is the most interesting about this reveal is, how is Daenerys going to react to this news? Is she going to be like, okay, well, we can be the king and queen on the Iron Throne? But I think that she's going to view Jon as a real threat. And I think that this showmance might come to an abrupt end.
Oh yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a great, bit of interpersonal drama for this season. I mean, we saw even with Sansa, just like Daenerys was not having Sansa's, I don't know what, like resistance, she's like, she needs to bend the knee. I'm the queen. And that has been Daenerys's through line throughout. It's like, I am the queen. You are bending the knee, like the end. And for someone to not do that is such a challenge to her whole sense of self. And so now that her very like legitimacy might be questioned by Jon. I mean, Sam had that great question, you gave up your claim to the throne, your crown for the betterment of your people. Like, is she going to be willing to do the same thing? I don't know.
Yeah. I do wonder, though, that everything with, the dramatic action is bringing us to the Night King is right around the corner. It does seem as though Bran is saying, like, hey, we don't have time for this. Night King is coming. Night King is busted through the wall.
I don't know.
It seems like a lot of people are still, worried where the deck chairs are on the Titanic.
The Night King is very concerned with arts and crafts. Like, he must have really spent a lot of time, like, assembling
a message.
Yeah. But it was so precise, like the arcs, like, and you know that the whites themselves, they're not the ones who are like constructing that. So the Night King, they have like, very clumsy limbs. So the Night King himself must have been kind of there, like pasting people's limbs up on that wall.
It seems like from Game of Thrones history that they can do this very quickly. You turn around and in a second they've got like some sort of like a flash mob art project designed with like body parts. I don't know how the Umber boy ended up sort of being the person who ended up being the message that the Night King wanted to send. You would think that once the Night King breaks down the wall with an ice dragon,
like all hands on deck.
I think we got the message.
Yeah.
Like, no. This is the exclamation point is the Umber boy and then tentacles around him.
Well, so should we jump to there, or is that too soon?
I think we can bounce around a little bit. I just want to also remind people that if there's anything that we miss, that you have your opportunity. You're going to take your calls later on in the show. If you are wondering, if you're watching us on YouTube and you're wondering how to do it, go to fancred.com, and then you'll see for the Snow It Alls Game of Thrones recap, you need to be on the FanCred app if you want to call in later on in the show. Okay, Steven, let's jump there.
So that symbol, apparently, that symbol is a symbol that has recurred throughout the show. Danny and Jon saw it in the cave and Targaryen. Yeah, it's their logo. It was like, I'm sorry, on Dragonstone. There was like the dead spiral, right? There was like a spiral of the dead.
Yeah, that's what they do.
Yeah, that's what they do. And I guess it's a reference to the Isle of Faces. It's apparently a reference to the Isle of Faces. But like, do you have more insight into what it means?
No, I really don't. I don't know if anybody quite does. I mean, I think that there is an interesting question of, what does the Night King want? Does the Night King have a message? Right. What is the Night King's ultimate goal? Is he just a force of nature, or does he have some sort of an end goal? And is there something where we can sort of, like we saw where Bran saw where the Night King became the Night King? Is there something that he wants or is trying to tell people? And is this icon? Is there meaning in this?
Yeah, I mean, I've not loved the sort of like giving of like like desire to the Night King, because I always thought it was cool, from the very beginning of Game of Thrones, where, you kind of had this internal human politicking and like very, very psychologically realistic, motivated internal politicking within the Seven Kingdoms. But then like outside of the Seven Kingdoms, you had this like threat that was essentially nuclear weapons, right? It was like ultimate destruction. It had no desire. It was just death itself coming down from the north. And like, that is the ultimate threat. And I love that quote from Beric Dondarrion last season about how, we have to keep fighting against death, even though the enemy ultimately wins. So I don't love the idea that like the Night King might have some like political goal too. And like, hey, he's also involved in like the great game of somethings. But, if that's the case, I'll get on board. I just am going to be a little bit resistant to it.
Yeah. He just wanted his Valyrian steel dagger back the whole time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And the Whites in the first episode, they do make that same icon in that first scene that we end up seeing. So another throwback to the very first episode of the series, where we see that sort of design of the bodies strewn about.
Right, that's what I was thinking of. Yes, exactly. It's very, they always loved arts and crafts. Very orderly people. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'd like to do a little ship watch, Stephen. We have a lot of shipping potentially going on, and so let's talk about it here, and let's talk a bit more about Jon and Daenerys. And they end up, riding into Winterfell together. They have a couple of nice conversations. They're on almost like a bachelorette-esque date of being whisked away on dragons to go to a waterfall. Very romantic setup.
Totally. And then you got the creepy dragons like peering at them. Like, Drogon is so creepy.
Yeah. Drogon is like the parent who is disapproving. Now, was that because that Drogon could sense that they're related?
Oh, was he disapproving? I read that look as like, hey, what's this?
Hey, you thought Drogon was like, come on, you two, come on.
Yeah. I thought Drogon was kind of, like perving out.
No, but also, so Dany rode on Drogon. Does that mean that Jon was riding on Rhaegal, which named for his father, Rhaegar Targaryen?
That's great. Yeah, I didn't catch that. That's a really that's right. Yeah, that's really very apt.
Yeah. So certainly cool to watch Jon and Daenerys flying around on the dragons. Were you enjoying Jon and Daenerys's date?
Oh, yeah, it was great. I mean, it kind of reminded me of like when in Harry Potter, when he first gets on the broom and it's like, woo, flight, and I had that sense with like Jon, where, you kind of like for the whole thing, you see him just like clambering on, desperately trying to hold on. And meanwhile, Rhaegal is like swooping in and out of the valleys. And I thought it was really cool. Did you like it?
I was getting a little
too cheesy.
Come on, let's pick up the pace a little.
Let's
bit
get to the battles.
Yeah, a little bit, but it was to me it reminded me a little bit of the original Superman, the '70s Superman of Superman taking Lois Lane off to go fly around. Yeah, for a little bit.
Jeff in the comments says, do you think that Rhaegal was hazing Jon?
Maybe.
Yeah.
If you're gonna date our mom, okay, we're gonna make sure you're up to the task. All right. Yeah. So, all right, Jon and Dany. We're still shipping Jon and Dany. Do we like Daenerys?
I mean, I think you're right that Daenerys has got some roadblocks ahead of themselves. There's a lot of they really got to find out if they're there for the right reasons.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. We'll see. I mean, the thing about Jon though is that he's like, I don't want to be the king. I don't want anything. But Daenerys, once she finds out that his claim is there, how is she going to handle this?
Right, because she's like her whole identity. Like I was saying, her whole identity is based on her claim, and I think it's going to be a real challenge between the two of them. Mm-hmm. Do you think they will get married? I mean, we had Tyrion and Varys talking about, are they going to get married?
The royal couple.
Yeah.
So I think that is too syrupy sweet a conclusion to all of this. I'm sure all the casuals on the Game of Thrones Facebook page are all rooting for Jon and Daenerys to just get married at what's left of the Sept of Baelor at the end of this thing. That being said, I see almost zero chance that this is how Game of Thrones is ending in 5 weeks.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to end. I mean, it's possible that they get married like somewhere along the way, like a quick little shotgun wedding, some, like Croucher's Keep or something.
Like John's parents, yeah. Croucher's Keep.
I don't know. They're on the way.
99 weddings in my place. They've all been shotgun weddings. That's the destination beyond the wall for a wedding.
Yeah, I would think if you were gonna fast little wedding just north of the wall, that's where you go.
Yeah, I mean it's on a dragon ride. It's 30 minutes away.
Yeah, exactly.
So all right. So Jon and Daenerys. Okay, but let's talk about a pair that I did not think that we would see: Cersei Lannister and Euron Greyjoy.
Oh yeah.
And we are shipping in every sense of the word here with Euron Greyjoy.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's such a great scene where Cersei says to him, "You want a whore, buy one. You want a queen, earn her." And Euron's like, well, what do I do? I mean, he's really, in Euron's defense, he's done a lot.
He's done a lot. Put a lot of work in.
Yeah, he defeated an entire fleet last season. He brought over the Golden Company this season. He's really been clutch. And so Cersei's walking away, and she gives him like the most hostile "come hither" look I've ever seen. Like I did not originally think that was Cersei's "come hither" look.
I didn't think he was getting past the mountain.
Yeah, I thought that was it too. But she looked at him. I thought she was like, that was like the death glare. But nope, that was her sex face.
Well, I think that she was really disappointed about the elephants. She was told there was going to be elephants.
Yeah,
Cersei wanted an elephant, and he did not deliver.
Elephants would have been pretty cool. That would have been a cool, maybe the elephant budget got cut this year.
Yeah, I mean, why? Game of Thrones has spent like $10 billion on the show. What, they couldn't CGI an elephant in here?
I think like an elephant on a battlefield is kind of like Bran in a conversation. It just like ruins the whole thing.
Yeah. So Cersei and I really was surprised. I thought she was always stringing him along, and we've certainly seen Cersei Lannister use every weapon at her disposal to get what she wants. But I thought she could have strung Euron Greyjoy along here further.
Well, and I wonder, like, do you think that any part of it is like she actually just wanted some kind of, I mean, is it all tactics with her? Is there any part of her where she's like, you know what? He's kind of a hot guy.
Well, I don't think so. He's not that hot of a guy. But let me float another idea past you, that Cersei, with this baby in utero, Stephen, is Cersei thinking about the protection of the baby potentially?
That's interesting.
That if Euron Greyjoy and she end up together after all this, and then now all of a sudden that Euron Greyjoy finds out that she is giving birth to Jaime Lannister's bastard, for lack of a better word here, then that baby, much like we saw with Robert Baratheon, will be in grave danger. But is Cersei going to be pulling an okey doke on Euron Greyjoy? She needs to have this interlude with him and then can say like, hey, guess what? Great news, Euron. I'm pregnant.
You know what? I think that's exactly right. I mean, and we had that kind of line from Euron, like some creepy line, like I'm going to put a baby in you, prince in your belly. Okay. And yeah, I think you're right. And then she kind of like looks like, but Euron's in for a surprise when this like fair-haired, like sniveling, Jaime baby comes out instead of like the
another
punk
Joffrey.
Rock. Yeah, exactly. Instead of like some like whatever his aesthetic is.
Mm-hmm. I want to take a quick break from Shipwatch just to talk about Theon and Yara. While Euron Greyjoy was having sexy time, here comes Theon, timed this perfectly. Breaks in, steals Yara. Boy, that was uneventful.
Yeah, kind of a no, like it was pretty easy. Like they, like I guess knew someone had told them which ship Yara was on, and they just swam
Like
over there.
I was like completely expecting Euron to like, what the hell is going on in here?
Yeah. They had some bows, and Theon's got his superpowers.
Boom, boom, and then away we go. And first ever not botched rescue on Game of Thrones. So congratulations to Theon and Yara for pulling that one off. But Yara is going to head back to the Iron Islands, and Theon is going to go and join the festivities at Winterfell.
I thought you were going to say Yara's going to headbutt to the Iron Islands. I mean, she really gave Theon quite a greeting, the old Greyjoy greeting. I thought that was cool that she was like, go fight for. I mean, we knew that Theon had to be at Winterfell eventually. You said that you felt like he was going to kind of have his big heroic moment, and I think that's right. So that was cool. It would have been really a bad ending for Theon if he was just like standing there in the Iron Islands with like a sword in his hand, just like waiting for something to happen.
Mm-hmm. Do you think, is this a wrap on Yara Greyjoy? Do we see her again in these 5 episodes?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Maybe like in a montage at the end,
Yeah, if we have sort of like the Daenerys swearing in, I could see her like making the trip to King's Landing for the inauguration. But I think that's or the other thing is that maybe she could potentially like be in the cavalry at some like battle at King's Landing. Maybe down the road. But I think for the most part, we're done with Yara.
Yeah, it's possible that they could be a last minute swoop in. Like the Game of Thrones loves the last minute swoop in. I could see Yara being the swooper. But she's not, I don't know, she's not really a big enough character to swoop. So I do think this might be the end of Yara. Like you said, maybe like a swearing in ceremony or something.
Okay. All right. My third place I want to visit in Shipwatch, Arya and Gendry, Stephen, way back when. That there was I always thought it was a super awkward line where Gendry, who I don't know at the time, it like seemed like he was like 18 and Arya seemed like she was like 11, and he was like, you'll always be milady. He said something like that to her, but definitely flirtation happening with Arya and Gendry tonight.
Oh yeah, I was. Who would have predicted this romance? And maybe a future. Baratheon Stark baby.
Yeah. So we'll see if Arya and Gendry end up together at the same. One more on Shipwatch. Sansa and Tyrion reunited in this episode, and they, I thought, had a little bit of some reminiscing going on.
Yeah, that was a fun one too. I really like that. Was a fun, sorry I left like that. Yeah, it was kind of not great timing, but it was. I thought that was fun.
Okay, let's talk about some of this Stark political maneuvering going on, and hopefully we don't get back into deep like we were last season with Arya versus Sansa. Arya has now done a complete 180. She is 100% behind Sansa. Sansa is the smartest character on Game of Thrones now.
Yeah, apparently. I mean, Arya, at one point says to Sansa, refers to Sansa as being the smartest person she knows. Sansa, totally great Tyrion neg. I thought you were like, when I used to think you were the smartest person ever.
Yeah. Does Sansa have like the Peter Petrelli power where she is just basically like absorbed Littlefinger now?
It sure seemed, that way. I was
careful.
Yeah, this Mike was very excited about this Littlefinger. I mean, I love Littlefinger, so the Mike knew.
For anybody listening on the audio podcast, Stephen has a rogue microphone that has a life of its own. That is, it's like controlling the dragons. That they really it's very unruly. Stephen's microphone, but so Sansa, that she is not happy with Jon. She wants to know that, hey, did you go and make this alliance with her because you think we need her, or because you think she's hot?
Yeah. And even when they first walk in, there and just Sansa's really like just keeps like refuses to acknowledge. Like Sansa's more interested in the grain and the supplies, than she is in all these other things happening. She's like, this is nuts.
Yeah. Sansa's very on top of all of the food. She's talked about this for
Yeah.
back to last season. She's always like going over like the inventory with Jan Royce.
Do you think that there's going to be like a big climax to Sansa's inventory story arc where like she has like a huge like warehouse full of food
of grain? Where's that shipment of mead? Steven, let's talk about Bronn tonight. Bronn ends up that he is in the default gratuitous nudity scene of the night.
Yeah.
And interrupted by Qyburn. Game of Thrones loves where characters are interrupted at brothels. It seems like that's like, if anybody needs me, I'll be at the brothel. Come right in.
Well, this was before the internet, like there was like no texting. The only way to go is to burst in on someone when they were brotheling.
Yeah. And so Qyburn, he basically has an offer for Bronn, and a poetic offer at that, Stephen. Bronn, here's the crossbow that Tyrion used to kill Tywin Lannister. Mm-hmm. Use it to kill my treasonous brothers.
Now, just for context, I don't think this is the thing you need to burst in on the brothel for. It's like this is like weeks and months down the line when if they come back from this battle, then like just tell me after the brothels, But yeah, very apt. And Qyburn says, and Bronn, of course, is very suspicious of this offer because Cersei's burned him, not literally, but figuratively before, in terms of like, promising him things and then taking them back. And Qyburn makes the point that no, I mean, Cersei's the one to trust here.
Yeah, she always pays up front.
Now, do you think that do you think there will be, I mean, this isn't going nowhere. They wouldn't like waste time in the 6-episode story arc to give this incredibly symbolic object to Bronn. Interrupt a brothel scene of all scenes. This has got to pay off in some capacity.
Yeah, Josh and I were talking about this in the preseason, the lead up to this, of like, what's Bronn's storyline? He's in King's Landing. He didn't go with Jaime to the north. I think that this is just sort of a MacGuffin to get Bronn to where the action is ultimately, because that there was no way that the story was going to get him up there for any other reason. So we have to go along with it. It's like, there's no chance he kills Tyrion. There's no chance he kills Jaime, but we need a reason for him to get to Winterfell.
But that crossbow's got to go off at some point, right? It's like Chekhov's crossbow. It has to fire.
Does it end up being a weapon that ends up being used to ultimately murder Cersei? I wonder, does Jaime ultimately get it? Does Tyrion get his hands back on it? So it's a good point. Yeah, the crossbow is going to take somebody out, but I would be very surprised if I can't see Bronn going through with that. I mean, Bronn is always the one to go and then, get a better deal.
Yeah. I couldn't imagine it would be such a, and it would also be such a bummer of an ending for either Jaime or Tyrion, these iconic characters in Game of Thrones, for like Bronn to crossbow them on like as a mercenary. It wouldn't be like a fitting end for them.
You wouldn't think so. Think so. It looks like that next week, Stephen, it looks like we are going to start to get set up here for this battle potentially at Winterfell, that we have brought all of the forces retreated from the north to Winterfell to take on the Night King. Do you think we see this battle next week?
Oh, man, it sure looked like it. I hope so. I mean, I was surprised that it was so soon. Like that seemed like that's like such it felt like this huge climactic battle, and it's like, what, in a week I'm going to be seeing this battle that I've been waiting for years?
Well, I think that are we seeing the start of it? I mean, do you think that potentially that we get a cliffhanger where they're closing in, and that we have basically an episode of setup, and then we end up seeing it in the third episode? Because the preview did not show any parts of the battle, but just showing a lot of getting ready for the battle.
Yeah, that's interesting. It could be battle. That's interesting. Yeah.
Well, it looked like a lot of the preview for next week is going to deal with Jaime Lannister, who ultimately ends up being the person who we sort of close out the episode with, him riding into Winterfell. When you saw the person in the cloak, did you have any question about who it was?
No, they don't show the back of someone's cloaked head unless it's a pretty. I mean, I can't even think who else.
But did you know it was Jaime? Yeah, I think I thought if it wasn't Jaime, it could have been maybe Melisandre.
Yeah, Melisandre would have been. I didn't immediately jump to it's Jaime, but when it was Jaime, I was like, Okay, obviously.
Yeah. And then they leave Bran out there. I thought that nobody keeps an eye on Bran. They just leave him out there in his chair in the yard, and then he's there to, he's like the greeter of Winterfell.
But, probably people like go and try to talk to him, and it's just like, so awkward, and then they're like, oh, well, all right. Okay. Thanks, Bran. Like I did look so beautiful.
It was there. So awkward where that Jon came in and he's like, Bran, hey, look at you.
Yeah,
you're a man. He's like, almost.
Yeah, man.
Come on. What does he mean? Is he not a man anymore? That he's a three-eyed raven now?
Yeah, it was a very and Jon was like, okay, there you go.
I wasn't sure if he was saying because of his injury he's not a man, but I don't know. He really is just a mood kill.
Yeah, exactly. I was surprised that he waited so long to deliver this crucial information to Jon. I mean, like we ended last season. We must tell Jon. Then Jon shows up and like, you know what? No one's in a hurry to tell him.
I can't believe it. I thought when Sam came out to see Bran, I thought the first question was going to be, why did you tell me about my dad? What did you tell me? I mean, all of the Maesters knew about it like 5 episodes ago.
Yeah.
Like nobody passed word along to, I mean, and in fairness to Daenerys, how does she know that, oh, you're friends with Randall Tarley's kid?
Oh yeah, I don't think Daenerys knew. I mean,
yeah. He's like, what? She didn't tell you?
Right. No, that's normal. But like, it is weird that no one else has bothered to. But people have been very busy. There's a lot of preparing to do, a lot of marching.
People don't have a lot of time for these important conversations.
Yeah.
Not always. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I want to give people the opportunity to fire up the fan line and come on and ask us some questions here tonight on FanCred. If you are watching us on YouTube and you feel like, oh, hey, here's something you missed. Here's a question for you. Jump on. Don't be mean to us that we don't claim to be the people. Only on Survivor, we know it all, okay? We're the Snow-It-Alls. We know nothing. We're just here talking with you live after a Game of Thrones episode. All right? So if you want to get in on the FanCred fan line, go to fancred.com, get on the app, and go ahead and watch us. All right, we have somebody ready to go. It's Ben from Philadelphia here on the Snow-It-Alls here on post-show recaps. All right, let's go ahead and fire it up. Ben is in Philadelphia. Steven and I will be there later on in the week. Ben, how are you?
Ben, how are you?
Hey there, can you hear me?
Yes, yeah. Are you ready for us?
Yes. Can you guys talk about the Stark tension, especially with Daenerys? Do you think that they're trying to turn Jon against her? I know there's this whole last hero prophecy from the very first book where Jon might have to kill the woman he loves. Do you think that's something they're building up towards here?
Okay. Steven, relationships are hard when your family doesn't like the person you're dating.
Yeah. It's challenging. It is challenging. Someone comes into Sansa's been dealing with all of these like grain supplies for so long, and then she has to like turn over the castle, right, to Daenerys. There was that moment when, she said like the Winterfell is yours, Grace, or whatever it was. Yeah, it's challenging. I mean, what do you think, Rob? That's interesting.
I don't think that Jon would ever kill Daenerys. Jon is not power hungry. It seems like the people are pushing Jon, but Jon has been a reluctant leader, but he has not wanted to be a king. He didn't even want to be the leader of the Night's Watch, and people just force these things on him. I can't see him killing Daenerys unless she does something like the power has corrupted her and she now has that Targaryen gene take over where now she's become the Mad Queen and she's burning the city, and maybe she has somehow goes on a real heel turn somehow in 5 episodes, but I don't see it. I don't think so, Ben. What do you think?
Some people were predicting that, though. Some people were predicting that like this was kind of the start of Daenerys going crazy arc, where she was pretty extreme in a couple of places. With her response to Sansa, it was a little bit like, it felt like a little bit much. And then when she was like, "We could live here forever," she kind of was like that crazy in the waterfalls.
Jon Snow's good in a cave.
Yeah,
But
it's true. Yeah.
now I know.
What do you think?
Stephen is the expert of first chapters. I love the Paraphrase podcast. Now in this,
Thank you so much. My God.
Of the final season, them introducing this sort of tension between the Starks and the Targaryens. Where do you that has to have some meaning here in this final season? Why do you think they're introducing it here?
I mean, the downside would be the negative view would be that it's just like the Sansa Arya tension last season, right? Where it's just like tension just to have some kind of plot tension. I mean, I think it's a bold. Are you predicting that Jon is going to have to kill Dany? Is that your call?
Yeah, I think that that's what we're building up to here.
Okay, wow. That nobody is calling that. All right, if that happens, Ben from Philly called it. Jon will kill Dany. Boy, I don't know how the casuals on HBO.com are really not going to care for that, Stephen.
Yeah, but that would be but if they justified it enough, if they made her crazy enough, that might be, and this last season she had this whole thing about I'm just going to go in and set fire to King's Landing, and Tyrion talked her off of that. I mean, you could see something like that happening where Jon, whose whole story arc has been, as you have said many times, protecting people, right? Laying down his own life for the sake of the people.
Right.
Maybe they go out together in a blaze of glory.
Maybe Cersei is dug in King's Landing, that she's basically, they're trying to ride it out. Dany's like, I got to just burn King's Landing to the ground. I just got to get in there with a dragon. And Jon's like, no, you can't do it. She's like, no, you try and make me stop.
The dragon chase sequence would be the height. That would be a pretty cool.
Okay. All right. Let's look at Marietta in London is on the line. Okay.
International. We've gone international.
Okay. Game of Thrones is a worldwide phenomenon.
It's really early in London right now.
Okay. Marietta, how are you?
You got up so early to watch this show today.
Well, I haven't gone to sleep yet.
Yes.
Wow.
But it was worth it for Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah. It was. And I'm a big fan of you guys. I watch your Survivor Know-It-Alls.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
So I wanted to ask about the Cersei scene with Euron, because wine, and she had rejected the wine from Tyrion.
Yes, and not recommended during pregnancy.
Maybe they don't have that science yet. Maybe the Meisters haven't figured it out.
Maester Qyburn is behind the times.
She rejected it last season. That's why I'm saying it.
So what do you think? What do you think is with
That's really interesting.
And also, there was this prophecy with a witch, and the witch told her that she would have 3 kids. So do we think she's not pregnant? Do we think she's not going to have the child?
Okay.
Well, Rob had said that there was some, you speculated too, with all that belly rubbing in the Tyrion scene, that she was really trying to plant a bug in Tyrion's head that was a misdirect. And I mean, it pays off because with this episode, we saw Tyrion being now she has something to live for. And I believe Cersei, and it really would be a total, power move by Cersei to have just completely tricked him.
She did dupe Tyrion with that, but it seems like that she was holding her stomach when Euron came back, and so I would be very surprised if the pregnancy wasn't real at this point, because they've alluded to it so many times, and I could see it in that one scene, but I feel like that we would see Cersei then say to somebody else "Oh, what? I'm not really pregnant. I just said that to trick my idiot brother."
Yeah, it's not established enough for the reversal of it to be really meaningful.
But that being said,
maybe they're duping us.
Yeah,
well, they could be.
The 3 kids thing, though, I do feel you've speculated too about maybe Daenerys, maybe Mirri Maz-Dur was wrong, and Daenerys can have kids. If every prophecy is wrong, that would be a little bit frustrating.
Well, also, it's very conceivable that Cersei is going to die before she gives birth to this baby.
Right.
Or the baby's gonna die.
The baby also could die, and we'll see. But the baby is interesting. I think that the baby is for real. I think it's going to be a little bit of a factor here in this final season. Okay. All right. Thank you to Marietta in London.
Yeah, that was great. Well, we haven't talked about Lyanna Mormont, my favorite character.
Yes. Talk about her.
She was not having this whole bending the knee thing. She's like, you left a king in the north, and you returned.
She knows no king but the king whose name is Stark.
Yeah, I thought that was a great scene, and there was a lot of like murmuring in favor of her, and then then the other houses were kind of not having it. They weren't going to turn up for Daenerys's.
You got to get her on board. You got to get Lyanna Mormont on board. I also thought it was weird when Jon and Arya, they had their sweet reunion. Jon, I don't know why he needed hey Arya, here, feel how heavy this sword is.
Look how cool my sword is.
I guess that you're really I didn't know you were that insecure, Jon. Yeah, I do. Your sword is very heavy.
Do you think that was just to remind us that it's made of Valyrian steel? Like, just to like be like,
I don't know. Why did we forget Jon Snow has a Valyrian steel sword? Like, okay, great. Jon and Arya have the connection over Needle, but I hey, look, I got a sword too now. Okay. Yeah. All right. We've got another call. Kyle in California is on the line. Okay, we'll go to Kyle in California on the fan line here on Fan Cred, talking about the game. Yes.
Kyle.
Yes, Kyle.
Right.
How are you?
Hey, doing good.
All right.
Kyle, what's new?
Not much. I was wondering, what do you think of the line when Bran said that he's waiting for an old friend for Jaime?
Oh, yes. Who is Bran's old friend?
Wasn't it Jaime?
Yeah, was it Jaime?
That's definitely Jaime. You're absolutely right.
So he's completely over being pushed out the window and everything.
Yeah, I don't think that he's going to ultimately be like vindictive towards Jaime Lannister. I kind of think that his attitude, he's such a weirdo that he's going to be like, hey, if it wasn't for you, then I wouldn't be the Three-Eyed Raven, and I wouldn't have all this intel on the Night King, and we wouldn't be. So everything happens for a reason. So I guess that I needed you to push me out that window.
Yeah, that's what I think too. I think Bran is ultimately not going to like. I mean, I'm looking forward to that moment. I mean, just because of Jaime's reaction, he's such a great actor and it's such a great character. I really want to see like his response to that.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you think that plays out next week with Jaime and Daenerys?
Well, for me, I would say that I totally had forgotten about that. As the Kingslayer, that Jaime killed Daenerys' father. It looks like that we are going to lean into that storyline next week.
Yeah.
Yeah. She said before though that she knows her father was evil, so I feel like she should.
But even so, it's like Sam. Like he didn't like his dad, but he was also sad that his dad was killed. And also, I mean, again, Daenerys' whole thing is just like who deserves the throne, and like as even if her father was evil, like her father had the claim, had the right. So,
okay, all right, Kyle. Anything else going on? Okay, that's it. All right, thank you, Kyle and Steven. 1 week from tonight, we'll have our next episode. We'll be live here again. If you want to join us on fancred.com to ask us questions in the chat. All right, William in Washington. Let's say one or two more questions. Here's William in Washington. Here he comes. William in Washington. You think this Washington State or Washington, D.C.?
I'm in Washington State. Hey, William.
Washington State. Hey,
yes.
Rodney.
How's it going?
Great, doing great. Amazing first episode. I actually had two quick questions for you.
Go for it.
One, what are your thoughts on the new intro? With it seemed very different from the first 7 seasons.
Yeah, it did. It really did seem. It wasn't like zooming from city. It was like more like here's this whole landscape.
Yeah, I didn't pay super close attention to it.
Yeah.
But I will watch. I will do a rewatch before I do our Game of Thrones feedback show with Josh tomorrow night.
What did you think about it?
Because I actually really liked it. It's sort of saying that now the focus has gone from King's Landing because it starts off at the Wall and goes south to that. So I sort of like it with the shifting where the show has now shifted to, that it's not so much about King's Landing, but now it's about the threat from the north. So I thought
it was cool starting on the wall with that big like hole in the wall. I thought that was a really cool like beginning to it.
Yes, absolutely. Second question, going back to Arya and Gendry. Arya is creating some sort of a weapon. Do you have an idea?
Yeah, what was that?
That was so weird. I couldn't I was really looking forward to being able to like look in on Reddit or just like to zoom in for like the specific thing that it was. It looked like something, it came apart, right? And like part of it was her Valyrian steel, and like it looked like some kind of like thing you'd see in like the spy museum where it like popped out, I don't know. What did you think it was?
Did she see this in like one of these other places, or like did the Faceless Men have something like this?
Oh, I think I may have lost it.
Oh no.
Okay.
What did you think it was? If you can hear us, you can't hear us. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, William, for the question.
That was great. That was a good question.
Here's what's going to happen. Somebody
Okay.
is going to do a screen grab, and then it'll be on Reddit, and then we'll end up figuring it out by tomorrow.
Do you think it's a historical type of weapon, or do you think it's like a totally new Game of Thrones invention?
I don't know.
I bet it's like they typically like base their stuff in somewhat historical.
Yeah, like I'm sure if we like revisit the Arya storyline, I'm sure we can find somebody who had something that was similar. All right, what last?
Why was that?
Okay. Let's go to Wade in Cleveland. He'll have the last question here tonight on the Game of Thrones know-it-alls here with Stephen Fishbach, who's fighting with his microphone, but he is on the right side of history. Yes, hey. Wade, how are you?
Hey, Wade.
So I've got a question for you, Stephen.
Uh-oh.
So, what do you think the odds are that the Night King kills everyone, no one's alive at the end of the season?
Yeah.
If you say
0%.
If you say 33% chance, I'm going to be terrified, man. So anything but that, and I'll be okay.
Okay.
I think it's a 0% chance.
I don't think there's a 0% chance.
That no one lives?
Not nobody, but the Night King takes the Iron Throne. Everyone's.
Why does the Night King want the Iron Throne?
He just wants to draw. He just wants to draw.
Yes.
Like Steven said.
Seems arbitrary that the Night King would come all the way down from, parts unknown to get the King's Landing just to sit on some throne made of swords.
I think that, I do feel better about the Night King's chance or worse about the Night King's chances of taking the Iron Throne than 33%. 10%?
10%. All right.
What do you think? Where are you at?
Who has a better chance, Stephen, at the end of this to be on top? The Night King or Aurora?
What about Reem?
Wow. Wow. I think Reem has a better chance. Yeah.
Do you know how cold it is out here?
Will you put up to this, Wade? Is this this is a contractual thing where every podcast we do, Rob gets a Reem impersonation in?
Yes.
I live for it, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
If my Cole brought out a Reem impersonation, I did my job.
Yes. Okay. All right. Wade, thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
All right,
Thank you.
Care. All right, there you go. All right, Stephen, lots of fun talking with people here live after the episode, and great to get to talk some Game of Thrones again.
Yeah, this was really fun, Rob. It's great to be chatting with you. It's great to be watching this show. I was so moved to be watching. I can't believe it's all wrapping up.
I didn't know you get so emotional during Game of Thrones.
I'm an emotional guy, Rob. But it's just like all these great. One last question for you. Why was the Hound so angry about Gendry making like weapons for the wildlings?
I think he was just basically just trying to neg him a little bit, hey, don't get cocky.
Yeah. Okay.
A big deal. You can make a hammer.
It looked like it was a pretty cool looking weapon though, the dragon glass weapons.
Yeah. No, Gendry knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's got a gift.
Are the dragon glass weapons going to be useful against, like, if they have to be used in the South? Like, are they just going to like shatter against the armor?
I don't think that they would be particularly useful against armed Lannister soldiers or the Golden Company. But if one hits you in the face, it's still an arrow to the face.
That's right. That's right.
All right. Like against a shield, it probably is not doing much good. But I think a regular arrow against a shield is not that great.
That's right.
I mean, we are military experts.
And that's why you're listening for smart tactical advice.
Yes. Is that what Arya is doing? Is she making some sort of pea shooter out of dragon glass for to be able to take on White Walkers?
I could. Yeah, that would be, could be. Yeah. I don't know.
Right.
Oh, it's got to be some faceless man setup, right? So she's like, it's like some sort of thing where she's going to take on someone's persona and, have a dragon glass thing.
Sure.
Maybe at the end, like one of the whites, like the White Walker is surrounded, the Night King is surrounded by his whites, and one of the whites like pulls off her dead face, and it's Arya. That's how it ends.
Perfect. All right.
Yeah.
Stephen Fishbach, great job. Of course, you can follow Stephen Fishbach on Twitter at Stephen Fishbach. Did you tweet at all about the episode?
I tweeted like twice, and then I was like, there's probably a lot of people who are not able to watch. What do you think? Is this like the Super Bowl where you're allowed to there's probably as many people watching this as watch the Super Bowl.
I think that you are allowed to tweet jokes, but but don't like tweet like, oh, can't believe this person died.
yeah. That seems fair.
Yeah. Okay. Of course, be sure also to check out everything that Josh Wigler is posting over at thr.com. You can follow at Round Howard on Twitter to make sure you don't miss any of his Game of Thrones scoops. I'm at Rob Cesternino. Of course, if you want to join us live, we'll be doing this again after every one of these Game of Thrones episodes this season. So if you want to get in and chat with us during the episode, get on to fancred.com, get on the app, and then next week, hopefully, we'll be talking to you to get your feedback questions in for our post-show recaps feedback show with Josh and myself, GOT at postshowrecaps.com. Steven, anything else?
No, I mean, that's it. I'm excited to be back, excited to, this really cool way of interacting, and, wonderful to be talking to you as always, twice a week now. It's gonna be so exciting.
All right. We'll talk to you next Sunday. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.